We are live.
And
Hopefully I'm
welcome to episode 29 of the podcast, How Do You Know That, with Robert Hollis. We are so glad to have you with us today. And before we get things going, if you are watching us on YouTube, please hit the like and share buttons, as well as subscribe button to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Plus, also hit whatever the bell is so that you get notified all the time when we do these live broadcasts. Now, if you're listening to us elsewhere in the podcast universe, please like and share this with friends and help us spread the word. Also, if you would like to join our exclusive community, the Inner Circle, you can join us by going to roberthollis.com/join to register. There you'll find lots of great exclusive content, and you'll be able to participate in our special breakthrough sessions that take place every Thursday to help you move to the next level. Today is episode 29 of How Do You Know That? And our topic is the greatest gift you can give. Now, allow me to introduce our host for today's show. He is an entrepreneurial evangelist renowned for his incredible achievements. He is also known for inspiring countless of individuals around the globe with his unwavering determination and spirit. And he has also helped 67 people as of this date become millionaires. As a mentor, GPS for success, and dear friend, ladies and gentlemen, Robert!
Yes, Craig. You know what? You're not only the hostess with the mostest, but when you started getting close to
Running out of breath.
what you're known for, it's funny. I seen me and Matt's smiles got bigger. It's like, here he comes. Here he comes.
I was wondering he's trying to break his record or not. So
Oh, I think he did it. I think he did it.
You guys called me out. What was it, last
Right.
week? I think on the
Yeah.
Inner Circle, or was it here? It was
it
one
could
of
have been
those
here.
two.
Yeah.
I think it was actually. You know what? I think it was here, and I tried it on the Inner Circle. It didn't work.
Got it.
So I had, because of a setting that I had. So
Well,
okay.
all I know is the title of today is the greatest gift you can give, and I think I just got it. I've said this many a times. I'm sure some people see that kind of introduction from the hostess with the mostest, co-visionary Craig Jackman. I just love and appreciate you. And again, I pray that each and every one of you one day gets an introduction that makes you feel uncomfortable. Just makes you feel uncomfortable, because that means that you're making some kind of impact, right? So today I when I thought of this, Matt, I was trying to think, I just feel like I want to get your feedback and Craig's feedback
Sure.
before I share mine.
That's a different way of doing it. I like that.
Yeah. So
do you want to go first,
coin.
Craig, or you want me to? I could throw
Here.
some things out
Here,
there.
G or E. All right. So
G or E. Oh,
Who is who?
I'm gonna go with E. E.
You're first.
All right.
There we go.
It's all up to Eam or
it was
Eam,
fate.
whichever side he's on.
Fate. But yeah, I mean, when I came up with this subject, it's close to the holidays, so a lot of people are thinking about gifts and like in general, there's a few different things like love languages and stuff, and everyone receives gifts differently. Like for some people, quality time is the best gift that you can give.
Right.
Or like acts of service. These are my two: quality time and acts of service. So it's like, okay, if you can go do something for me and take something off my plate that I had to do, I love you for that. That's amazing. Thank you for doing that. And then of course, like quality time, I like invested time where it's like, we're here, we're together, like we're doing with this podcast, instead of hanging out and doing another thing, right? Like quality time is really great. And so when you think of the greatest gift you can give, I do think that time is the best gift that you can give somebody. And we really don't think that often about how important that gift actually is to both people. The fact that if I'm sitting here with you guys, right, we're sharing our time together, and time is such a finite resource. It's a resource that's the most important. You could spend it doing anything. As a matter of fact, a lot of us like very much like go, I don't want to do this thing because it would be a waste of my time. Right. And that's so valuable. It's like, I'm not going to go down this road because know it's going to be too much time or whatever it may be. Right. You're stuck in traffic, too much time. So when I think about time being the best gift, the fact that now it's the holidays and a lot of us sometimes spend it with people that we do want to see and people that we don't want to see. Um, it's all a like outlook thing. It's all exactly the way that you feel about it. Because if you're going somewhere and you're giving your time, your most valuable resource, why not be present and try to make the best of it with what you are spending? Because it's so valuable, right? And spend it learning what other people's love languages are. If you guys don't know what those are, I recommend looking up a test if you can find one, the 5 love languages test, and trying it out. Because when you figure out the ways at which you feel love, it's very important then to figure out other people's, because what you'll realize is you actually just give your love language to everybody. And that's why it's your love language. So for me, it's quality time. So sometimes I'll spend time with a long time with people that don't deserve that amount of time, right? And it's given me, or it's taken me a while to realize that. It's like, hey, this place is more important with my time.
Right.
And then acts of service, right? So it's like, okay, like I said earlier, if you can take something off my plate and help me out, that makes me feel loved and cared for. So what do? I go out of my way to do acts of service for people, right? Because that's my love language. So it comes easy to me to go, hey, I want to share love with you or show you that I love you and care about you. So I'm going to do acts of service. It's not everyone's love language.
Right.
Right. So what ends up happening is they're going, well, great, Matt's doing all these things for me, but I don't feel loved. Well, maybe your love language is gifts. Maybe your love language is completely different, words of empowerment or things like that, right? And so if you're lacking in those things, but you're giving in the things that you love, you're wondering why people aren't responding to it. When you're giving that time, that's probably why. And that's something that I've learned. So that's what I wanted to open up with and share. So
Good stuff, man.
yeah,
Wow.
it's
I
helped me
don't
a
know how
lot for sure.
I don't know how to
Yeah.
follow that.
I was just going to say, so welcome very much to the podcast. We'll see you on the next one.
It's like
that was great.
you might want to rethink who goes first. All right, maybe leave me for last. No, I'm just kidding.
Come on now, wait a minute. We have had
I'm
our moments. I mean,
Oh
you know,
yeah,
each
no,
one of us
I'm
where
joking. I'm
I
joking.
know.
So come on, Craig. It makes you. Okay, Matt covered that one. What else?
Oh yeah.
Well, I mean, you can hop off that one too. It's like such a big topic. So
It really is. I mean, say especially when you say the greatest gift you can give is, and in a sense, what Matt, you and I kind of brought it up as we were getting ready to start for today's podcast. Not only is it the time, but it's you, the gift of you. And now when I say you, I don't mean you in the current state. I mean you in you being with people, you being who you are, not being a fake you being who you are. And Robert, I mean, the topic that you shared today, oh my gosh. I mean,
talking about big topics,
meaning of life. Yeah. I mean,
only the biggest one.
Of course, I mean, boy, we couldn't have picked a better day for two huge topics. And, if you haven't seen today's going live, I'll make sure to post it here in the chat and take a look at it. But what Robert did bring up too during that is it's about you being in the present, you being you now, and I know I spell it differently than a lot of other people in the chats when I post it, but it's true. You are unique. Think about that, because it's you who people like. It's you who people enjoy, not you pretending to be somebody else.
Yes.
You need to be you. And that does include, as you know, giving of yourself. And when if you even just go and support somebody, and I did this recently with a person who just put together a couple of films, short films. And I don't know the guy too much, but boy, my being there, he was like, "Oh my God, thank you so much." And it meant a lot. And just showing up when you can to help others, and whether it's even going to a food kitchen on Christmas or Thanksgiving, or somebody falls down in front of you and they drop their groceries, help them up, pick up the groceries. That right there can be probably one of the greatest gifts they will receive that day. And even thinking about that, all right, I'm sorry, I'm going to go a little further.
Please.
Why
Please.
not give a gift of you every single day, starting now through 2025, similar to Augmandino and doing the God Memorandum? And it's also part of the Boy Scouts too. Do a good turn every day. Why not do that? Giving the gift of you to everybody every day. The true you.
Yeah. Wow. And I'm supposed to follow that? Well, the first thing I thought, there's always this, phrase that I just love, that it always talks about, you got the past and the future, and then you got the presence. And
Mhm.
so, when the greatest gift you can give is, not only did Matt and Craig say, the gift of you, but being present, having that listening ear where you get to say an encouraging word, or you're just listening and you're present at that time that you're with those individuals. Um, and all the years that I've been talking to people and doing my best to share the wisdom that I've learned to others, the one thing I consistently get complimented on is my sincerity. They just go, "Oh man, you're so down to earth." Um, that's me working on myself to actually believe at this time in my life that I'm not all that in a bag of chips. I feel like the more that I work on stripping myself of ego and being me the best I can be at the moment that people need me. Like Matt said, children spell time. I mean, love, Time.
Mm.
And throughout my whole entire life, I always wanted to make Matt understand and believe that him and his brothers knew that the one thing that they mean to me, that there's nothing more important than them in my life. And that might have been me overcorrecting for my childhood, but I just never, ever,
Wow.
ever wanted my sons to go, "He wasn't there. There was something more important than me. He was always doing this stuff." And so I not only believe in what you both said, time and the gift of you is just, if you looked around me right now, I don't have a cell phone close to me. I
Mm.
don't need to be, it's bizarre to me that I've actually seen, they make a big deal out of everyone putting their cell phone upside down and off at a table. You know what I mean? And is this whole concept of that you mentally made a decision to be present with them. So you can give them the gift of you and you can give them of your time, but I don't think people really feel like you're giving them anything if you're constantly distracted, if you're constantly interrupting, if you're constantly got your ego in play So you want to make sure that you can tell the table and the people that you're with that you do have a better story than the ones that were already shared. Do you guys know any of these people? It's the
Yeah.
it's the professional, it's the professional you know, topping the story. You know what I mean? And you can watch these people where they're just antsy and giddy, waiting for a place to interrupt someone to say, "Oh my God, Craig, you think you got us a good story? Let me tell you this one." Right? And so you can give them the gift of your time and you can give them the gift of you. But if you're not giving them the gift of being present with them and the time that they need to have a listening ear or even feel like they're valuable enough to be paid attention to. In this day and age, it's like a lot of people are going and visiting people they don't want to visit.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting that a bunch of people feel like they have to do the traditional thing that everything always does. But what they can make sure to do when they're there is not be present.
If anything, that's sometimes their goal is like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm going to get there. I'm going to tie one on, man. I'm going to do whatever I got to do to get through these holidays. Right.
I
So,
guess, man, I never thought about it that maybe the goal of some people is to make sure they get uninvited.
yeah.
Seen
Well,
that
hey,
in
I
movies
mean,
before.
there's an election year next year. So,
But no, it's funny. I think I'm not present with that statement because of mom and I watched a new video that Ray Romano just came out with. And it just talks about an Italian family, you know what I mean? And I was really, really blown away. He was, Bill Maher asked him, was that a portrayal from his family? And he said it was actually the best portrayal that he could do of his in-laws, his wife's family. And it just was pretty interesting. You can really see people. It was a great, great written story and a great movie. If you guys want a good feel good movie, and it's
what
brand
was it
new.
called?
So I think if you search Ray Romano newest film, it's a short title as well, but
Okay.
yeah, it's like we all have our movies that we watch that make us feel good. So again, being present with people that you make them feel like they're the most important person in the world.
Right.
Somewhere in Queens, I think, is what it
Yep.
is.
Somewhere in
Yep.
Queens.
Yeah, that's the one that I'm coming up with.
This is going to be one of those movies that I really like, where there's if you're working on your awareness, this movie is freaking deep.
Mm.
It's
And it's
really
available on the platforms on YouTube, Apple TV, Amazon Prime, Hulu. So it's out there now. Yeah.
yeah. So Terry and I watched it last night. Very, very good. Very good.
That's awesome. Yeah. No, I mean, being an avid film lover myself and that type of stuff, I think there's certain aspects. The moment you said Italian family, I thought of Martin Scorsese's first film, which was not technically Mean Streets, but he did like a mini documentary
Right?
on his mom and dad, because they're just New York Italians, and that's the whole movie, right? Is just basically about them. And you can see that heartbeat line of his creativity with family that early on, for
Yeah.
that to be the first thing that he went for, right? Or one of the first things that he went for. And that's carried on all the way to now. So I think I'll definitely check that movie out.
Yeah.
So
Watching people and all their different 16 personalities are really, honestly, when you talk about being unique, um, there's been billions and billions of personalities, right? It's like it's the world's trying to understand people is why they would fit them into 4 or 16.
Yeah. No, I mean that. Yeah.
We're all pretty unique
But the thing is that human
people
beings
and
also
personalities.
really, right. We
Yeah.
really like to identify with a label nowadays too. So it
Yeah.
doesn't, I think when someone goes, I'm an ENTJ, people will go, oh, I know what that is. Okay.
Yeah,
Now I know
I'm
what I'm
close
doing.
enough. I'm an ENTG or an F or whatever the other ones are. Right.
Giving.
Yeah.
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 And no matter what personality trait that you are in trying to connect with another human being, would it ever say in the description of those personalities the three things that we covered today?
Yeah. Right.
So, so, yeah.
Yeah. I
So
think I was going to say two ENTJs hanging out with each other quality time might be a little bad. Like, I don't know. The
yeah,
two.
yeah,
Well, isn't that
So,
like, okay, if we're gonna go there, like the zodiacs, I mean, you don't want, I mean,
oh,
it's
astrology,
astrology. Well, I say zodiacs because you've got not only,
Chinese New Year.
astrology, but you've got the Chinese zodiac as well.
and
These are compatible. These are
you have
non-compatible.
fortune cookies.
Oh gosh, yes.
Yeah, I'm a Capricorn, so nothing I can do about that. So
You and I are right there, Matt. I like to say
And
we're happy cappies or we are the goats.
that's right.
and me, I'm just trying to be a better me.
Come on, throw some. Who are
Oh,
you?
yeah.
Really?
Just go ahead and do that mic drop right in front of us,
That's right.
Robert.
Can make
Well,
up some new
if we're
ones.
doing a little bit of roundtable, Matt, any
Yeah.
The greatest gift you can give. It's
It's interesting, right? Because it made me think too, like, what are some of the greatest gifts I've given, and then what are some of the greatest gifts I've gotten? And it's like always, like I said, heartfelt things. Like it's Hannah's made me things through the
yeah,
time that we've been together that are very personal, and it's like those are the gifts normally that I cherish the most.
my favorite.
So
My favorite.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm not really a gift giving person, so that's actually a love language I had to like learn, and I'm still learning how to do, like how to give like gifts that are meaningful and stuff. Because I think because it's not one of my love languages, it's one of those things where you go, okay, I just go buy something, right, and then they'll be happy. But
Right.
then you reverse engineer it and go, well, the gifts that I've gotten are all personal, so like maybe it needs to be something more personal. But as far as the greatest gift goes, like I really only came up with that title to say my opening spiel. So
So so Matt thought about it, came up with the title, won the flip, and dunked the ball.
because that was fate. I knew 100% I was gonna win the flip.
No.
Very, very, very
No,
good. I want to be transparent. I typed in a bunch of things that I pulled from Chat GPT. Matt's is training me very, very well. You know what I
and
mean?
you're training GPT, so it all
Yeah.
works in a flow.
Yeah. And so honestly and transparent as I can be, when Matt first did this title and I looked at it and it said the greatest gift that you could give. You know what I mean? It is as soon as I thought that, my first answer that came back to me was example.
Mm. No, I mean that's a good one for sure.
Oh. And so the best gift that I can give to others is to consistently just be the best person I can be. That people can see me year after year after year, physically, mentally, spiritually, socially, getting better.
Mm.
Wow, watch this transformation, watch this evolving right in front of your eyes. This guy used to be really focused on this. Now he seems to be really focused on this. Now he really seems to be focused on this. Because what a lot of people don't realize is again, I can't stress this enough. It should be a video all by itself, a topic all by itself. Is that truly the only way you can be the best person you can be is not only finding a bunch of hobbies and things that you thought you wanted that you found out later weren't fulfilling and didn't do what you were looking to fill. And so it got you to switch to another one. It got you to switch to another one. It got you to switch to another one. And so sometimes it's pretty funny for me when people hear about my life and they go, Robert, it's like you've lived 20 lives. What could actually be a better compliment? To know who I was in my teens versus who I was in my 20s versus who I was in my 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. It's
Yeah.
like
Well, that's right.
that's a true testimonial that a leopard can change his spots.
Well, Robert, what it shows is it shows you, which I know you've shared that on some of the shorts and on some of your dailies, that success is not a straight line.
Right.
Because you get to a certain point and then you say, okay, this is not quite where I want to go. What if I did this? And then you go that way for a while and you've had success going that way. And then, wait a minute, it's not working as well as I wanted to. So you adjust course and you go here and you get the success that you need. And it is that up and down change of course that you're going through to get you to where you, are right now.
It's amazing the three things that we talked about: time, being you, being present. You know what I mean? The things that we talked about, whether this is a fact or not, I believe that I've 100-fold on all three of those from the Robert Hollis 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And like that's what's so interesting about everything that you're saying too, Dad, is like, not that I meant to do this with the title, but it's called The Greatest Gift You Can Give. It doesn't say yourself or others. It's open-ended because it's meant to be, I guess. And it's like, okay, so what's the greatest gift that I could give myself? Right.
Right.
How can I look back? Because what you're saying right now is a gift that you've given yourself, because there's a lot of things. I heard this one saying where it's funny, where you're like, oh, I'll leave that for tomorrow, Matt, to do, or I'm going to take care of this now, so tomorrow Matt doesn't have to. Right. Because it's really interesting when you think about time in that way, that 2 years ago, right, you were still giving a lot. But I know for a fact, and I agree with you 100%, you're showing up every single day and giving now in a way that you didn't 2 years ago. Right. And then that's spreading further and further, and people are hearing that. So it's like, holy shit, a lot can happen in 2 years. A lot can happen in 6 months.
And not only that, but both of you. See, when you give the example of you, people always say to me, how can I inspire my mate? How can I inspire my children? How can I inspire my group? You know what I mean? Show them what's possible. Show them what's possible. So Matt with his learning and applying himself, Craig applying more of himself, we constantly get to see the fruits of our labor constantly.
Analytics,
the amount of views, the amount of subscribers, the amount of the impact, the amount of, and so when you're doing that, it's like, that's when people mentally look at you and they go, well, I couldn't do that. And it's like, I totally understand what you're thinking, because I thought the same. If there was a time where someone, if someone ever said to me, hey, Robert, you know what? I think that you should do a video every day, 20 to 30 minutes, and then also do a Ask Me Everything every Saturday, and then do a podcast every Wednesday, and then also Thursday night do an inner circle, for people that you want to build a close relationship to. And it's like, and then Matt goes, well, if you're going to do that many, then what I'll do is I'll do shorts of every one of those, anywhere from 5 to 10 of them a day. And Craig goes, well, geez, if you did that, I would post those videos on every social media. And it's like, if people right now sit down with us three and say, I want to make $1,500 a month from my YouTube channel, and we just said what we just said, they would go, I
No
guess
thanks.
that's not for me.
Well, yeah, of course. I think that's like that's one of those interesting gifts, right? Because similar to what you shared, it's like what I said a minute ago, which is I'm doing this now so tomorrow Matt, our future Matt, doesn't have to think or worry about these things.
Yeah.
So I think when I think of seeing the growth now, it's different because yes, it's not tens of millions, right? But that consistency of growth, right? That consistency of growth over the span of a couple of years, I know for a fact will matter significantly in not just the impact, but the information that we'll be able to share with people, and that the outlets for that to be a possibility are only going to grow.
Right.
So like I think when I think about stuff long term and I see those types of things, I really do think that we're giving that gift to our future selves, because at some point we're going to sit down on episode
No doubt.
300.
No
And on
doubt.
episode 300, there's going to be thousands, tens of thousands of people watching, and we'll go, damn. And I sent this the other day, right? Because every single time we set a certain milestone and subscribers or views, we pass it. So we like to celebrate every single time, even if it's 100 new subscribers, right?
Mm-hmm.
But last night we passed 6,700, and I was like sending the group messages, and I was saying it's going to be crazy, because I sometimes like to put myself in that future place, right? And envision and go, how crazy is it going to be looking back in kind of similar garage-like moment where you're like, man, I remember when we had just 6,700 subscribers. You know?
And today we gained 6,700 subscribers.
No, I know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
I've been very blessed and hanging around people that make that stuff happen. And so I've seen this growth of even Roger Penske, one of my first mentors. I keep hearing stuff about this guy way after I've not been employed by him for years. And this guy is still knocking down milestones. It's like, last year, not only the Indianapolis 500 set a record of the number of people that were at it. A lot of people don't hear this, but the Indianapolis 500 Speedway has 350,000 people that show up live.
That's huge.
At a freaking racetrack. You know what I mean? And so here, as a little kid, when he went there, he thought one day I'd like to own this. And then the family has one of their hierarchies, or their, well, not hierarchies, but one of the people that started the whole thing. The husband died, and then she died. And now, just like a lot of things, now it's the kids that are supposed to take it over.
Mm-hmm.
And the kids are like, no, we're just going to give it to Roger Penske. Because they didn't have the same love as their parents had for.
Yeah, right.
Right. So
exactly. Yeah.
And one of the sons said that if they ever thought of doing something with the track, that if they didn't give it to Roger Penske, his grandfather said, I will make sure that every day on earth you're punished for not making that decision. So he told his grandkids, I'd like you to carry on this legacy, but if you don't, and the word I think is bestow it.
Okay.
Sure.
Yeah.
I don't know the meaning of that word, but
bequeath, to give.
Okay, there you go. Yeah. And he says, listen, if you don't allow Roger Penske to do this, you're going to make your grandfather very unhappy. So isn't it crazy that he lived his life that entire time as an example? We're the biggest race in the world, the most famous race in the world, that he led his life in a way that his grandchildren knew that when they were done with it, they need to give it to this guy. Damn, that is a whole level of walking your talk.
Yes.
And with that all happening, last year was the first year that Roger Penske won the NASCAR World Championship and the IndyCar World Championship in the same year. He's been doing this his entire life almost, but he's still setting benchmarks. That's crazy to me. So he still inspires me today.
Isn't that kind of a gift unto
That's what I meant.
itself? Yeah. Because when you think about it, you do all this work, even if you look at it from an apprentice point of view,
Right.
you learn everything. You give the best that you can. And you always promote this, Robert. You do the best that you can. You give 110%. Og Mandino says that in the greatest miracle in the world and in the God Memorandum. And what could happen? You get these gifts.
I know one of the things that you've really grabbed on, Craig, since I've known you, is this concept of being 1% better every day.
Yes.
And
it's because of you, by the way.
Well, we're talking where Matt said time and you said you, right? And then me, I'm saying be present. And all three of those things and more can consistently, when people hear about you giving love and affection in a different way that no one else has done. Oh my God. That I never thought of that. That's what I'm going to do. Or if they see you having empathy and walking in the shoes of others, then you're showing people that. When we do inner circles and people send me these crazy messages going, how did you do that? How did you just figure out exactly where the person's head was and you're able to unravel them and wherever they felt they were stuck or uninspired or mostly beating themselves up by listening to voices that are not true, so it's that inspiration. And then they, when I tell people the life that I had, and now I'm thankful. I seen it again in another post today where the person was saying it was an old Zig Ziglar quote, Craig, that someone posted. And the old Zig Ziglar post said, don't ever forget to thank the people that wronged you.
And you've pointed that out.
Because
whether you said that directly or not, you have
made
pointed
you
that
who
out.
you are. It's made
Yes.
you who you are. And the people that wronged you made you stronger.
No, I
thank you
I
for
mean,
the
honestly,
lesson, man. Thank you.
Exactly.
It's interesting because when you hear a concept like that and you've never put it to practice, how awful it sounds to make an attempt to do.
Yeah.
But at the same time, how true it is. Whether you're going to therapy, whether you're doing anything, right? To grow yourself, it requires that. And that
Right.
if you switch your wording a little bit, I've noticed, and instead of changing it from some of those negative words to wisdom and going, here is a moment that may be very difficult for me, but there's the reason that it's still there is I haven't drawn enough wisdom from it yet. I haven't learned from this enough yet.
Wow.
That's why it still tortures me the way that it does. And it's my goal to reflect on that and figure out what part of it I did or didn't have to do, because there's another element to it where some shit happened to you and it is 0% your responsibility, 0% on you. And you might not think that, and that's why that's still there, right? You might not think that it's not your fault, but it's not, right?
Matt,
So
yeah, I can remember, Matt, like it's yesterday, and I tell the story because it's a very significant emotional event for me. And all of a sudden you're supposed to write down the people that hurt you and wronged you, and what they did to you, and why you feel like it's made your life, for lack of better words, a living hell, whether you believe in hell or heaven or not. And you got all your wrapping around this trauma and stuff that happened in your life, right? And then someone standing in front of you saying, okay, so you just wrote that stuff all down so it's fresh in your memory. And now what I want you to do is do a role play. And I want you to pretend that I'm the person that hurt you. and express everything of how you feel, what you always wanted to say to them. And you start out with that little, listen, I'm mad at you because you abandoned me. You know what I mean? And you're trying to do it with this like lack of eye contact, lack of feeling, lack of everything. And then all of a sudden someone comes out of nowhere and just gets in your face and starts calling you, you're worthless, you're going to be nobody, you know what I mean? You're never going to amount to shit. And they just physically get and verbally get in your face, and it makes you pop. And I still to this day, it's amazing that I didn't physically hurt this guy. There's something that stopped me from physically hurting this guy.
Well,
but
I mean,
but to get into that
yeah.
mindset where everybody goes, well, if I ever got a chance to give this person a piece of my mind, I would. But there's millions of books and millions of movies that have written that virtually almost every time that person gets what they prayed for, they don't respond the way they thought their entire life.
Yeah.
We see this over and over again, where this ugliness is there in front of them. And now they have this imagination part of their mind that this is what I'm going to say. This is what I'm going to do. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to beat them up. I'm going to do all this stuff. And then you're face to face with that scenario. And it's like, fuck.
I mean, a lot of it could be in your head internally, right?
So it's because you're a human. You know what I mean? So now that person's there, and all of a sudden you realize, wow, there's nothing I could say to this person to get them to think in a more aware state of mind. And that's how my mentors had helped me, going, Robert, if you want to, you can just whip out your owner's manual and read in the owner's manual that they didn't read how that was supposed to go down. And it's like, I didn't get an owner's manual. Really? Do you think they did?
Yeah, I mean,
exactly.
Yeah.
Shit, so I think we talked about this on another video, but there was a comedian that Mom and I watched, and all the guys
Terry and you. Yeah, you're so because I'm here. You're so used to saying "mom and I," but I'm letting everyone know he means
she's my mom too, vicariously.
Yeah, right. Yeah. He means his wife Terry, just so everybody knows.
Okay.
And so one of the things that was really weird is throughout the time he was doing this comedic routine, he kept talking about, and we all know how you tell someone that they mean the world to you, that you love them, that you adore them, that because of them, your whole life changed. And we all know the words to explain that to another human being. Oh, by the way, take care. And then turn around and walk away.
Well, that's one of those things, right? Because if you live, anytime I hear from people that visit the United States, that's one of those really different things, pretty much almost everywhere else, is that in the US, for whatever reason, even if we see a stranger, we'll go, how's your day going? And they'll say, great, regardless if it's going well or not, or vice versa. And this is some type of social thing that we have. But for other countries, they don't say that, because if someone asked, they'd be honest and they'd go, it's not been a good day. So no one asks, right?
Right.
But we've learned, and it's interesting when you break it down, because then technically we've learned to be okay with our day not going well enough to say it to other people. So it's like, do we say that to ourselves? Because if we're verbalizing it to others, then at some point you're going, God, I hope I have a great day. I'm having a great day. And you just keep telling yourself without actually making it any better. Right.
Right.
And so it's like, I feel when you really like look at it from a distance, there's so many habits that we have when it comes to ourselves or neglecting ourselves, that and there's this, I'll just go on this little tangent real quick, because I believe it'll be very helpful, because of what you were talking about, Dad. But there's this certain type of therapy that I've tried and I'm in favor of. It's more new, but it's called IFS. It's called internal family systems. The way that this works scientifically and stuff is you close your eyes and you talk to it separates who you are into a family, right? To a certain extent. There's certain parts of your personality that have been affected. Maybe it was your childhood self that's being affected because for me, that childhood self had a dream that adult Matt still hasn't realized. So every single time I neglect that dream, I'm neglecting that version of myself, that child version of myself that still believes that I can do these things and accomplish these things. So the whole part of the therapy is it's guided by a therapist, but it is closing your eyes and having a conversation with that part of yourself. And all they're doing is guiding it, asking what they're saying, and, like in a professional way, making sure you get the best out of it that you can. But in those situations, you really start having a conversation with a part of yourself that has experienced things and is neglected. And regardless if that person inside of you is real or not, it's allowing you to confront that internal part of yourself that you're not having a conversation with. And that's why it's so beneficial, right? So it's like the
Right.
greatest gift that you could give is having that internal dialogue with yourself. And so even though, Dad, you're like, I don't know why I didn't take that extra physical step when I had taken it so many times before and it was easier to grab to. And it's like, well, in that situation, you are actually having a conversation with yourself that you hadn't yet. And so
Absolutely.
it's like, in that situation, the violence aspect was the kid in you was going, put the fucking gloves down.
Yeah.
We're dealing with this now. You're not
Mhm.
just going to punch your way out of this.
Right.
And that's why I shared that, because I really do feel like that works. Like it really
Well, or
allows you to have that dialogue with yourself in a way that is different. It gives you respect because maybe you don't have respect for who you are now, right? Maybe you've done wrong things or you've experienced shit. You don't have enough respect for your adult self. But there's a difference when you go to therapy and they get you to reflect and have a conversation with a child version of yourself. Because the
Right.
people that had neglected that child, maybe they are not the ones having that conversation. And so therefore, you're not going to say the things to that kid that they said
Right.
because you're going to go, fuck those people for saying that.
Yeah. That
Right?
wasn't
I'm
nice.
not going to be that way to that child.
Yeah.
And so therefore you're giving that child part of yourself the things that they didn't. And what does that do? It connects those dots. It finally
It does.
allows you to go, I needed that. I needed, and someone else, I was looking for someone else to give it to me and they don't exist. That gift is not coming from somebody else.
okay,
No.
isn't that Robert?
Yes.
Isn't that you, Robert? I mean, when you think
Well,
about your
yeah.
story and
Yes.
what you've experienced as a child growing up to how you are now, how you were as a child and how you are giving and sharing to your children. I
Yeah.
mean, boy, that is and you share that all the time. And the whole thing is looking back at what happened and saying, "That's not gonna happen again. I'm
Yeah.
not gonna let that happen again."
Like Matt said, there was someone on our YouTube channel that posted. It doesn't make a difference what they said, but they said, don't forget, or you should know the difference. They were saying this to me,
Mhm.
that you should know the difference between pleasure and happiness.
Oh, I saw that post, yeah.
Because the consistent seeking of pleasure doesn't make you happy. And my response first was going to be nothing, but sometimes I can't help myself. You know what I mean? And I just went, if only everyone in the world knew this. Do you believe that everybody in the world knows this? Because if they don't, I'm going to continue to do videos.
I
and
mean,
so
yeah, you're
and so
like you said,
what,
2 years ago
what
you were different too. So it's like you
yeah,
pick up more stuff, it's infinite.
yeah, so what Matt said is if you weren't in such a bad position where I was in my life, where I stripped my identity, lost my ego to call out and ask for help to whatever helped me and introduce me to my second mentor, right? That had to go through all of this stuff to help me get to who I am today. What if you never find that individual that has that knowledge and wisdom? And what I want to agree with Matt is if you if you seek out help and seek out therapy from someone that might know something to help you get to the next level of your life, to be an example. And
Mhm.
so, I know the stuff that Matt and Hannah, for that sake. Um, I've never had a daughter, you know what I mean? I look at her as my daughter, even though, it's Matt's wife, it's my daughter-in-law. Some of the things that they needed to work through was my ability, which is another gift. This is another great gift you can give to people. Fucking listen.
Oh,
Is the ability to say, I don't know how you feel and I don't know how to fucking help you.
Yeah, I mean, the support aspect is actually really beneficial because I think a lot of people, exactly what you're saying, Dad. A lot of people take for granted. Well, they end up putting them, and I used to do this a lot, but they end up putting themselves in the position to help
Yeah.
instead of putting themselves in a position to support,
Oh,
right? And I flip back and forth between these two still to this day, and it hurts me every single time I realize I'm in the help category instead of the support category.
oh yes.
Because then it's like I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm not supporting someone and getting what they want. Instead, I'm going, here's what I think you need, and let me help you get that.
Yeah,
Right. And that's so,
it's not only ego,
yeah,
it's so
definitely.
self-serving.
Yeah.
The movie that I told you guys about last night, I do not want to give any of it away. But when you see how it all comes together, and all of a sudden for someone to go, holy shit, the reason I wanted all this was because of me, not you. You see what I mean? So, people are doing things for people, trying to be the life coach, trying to be the
Yeah.
person with all the wisdom, trying to be the person that's supposed, for lack of better words, is not a good example, but, walk the person off the cliff, get the person to not jump off the cliff. When in my opinion, if you can't do that for you, you sure in the fuck shouldn't be doing it for others.
That is very true.
You see what I mean?
Yeah.
Because because you're not willing to be an expert from afar. It's you're getting like you, and Matt and Craig both know this. If you guys want to know what my pet peeve is, and I shouldn't say it's my pet peeve, but it's still my pet peeve, is my whole entire life I felt like when I was young that everyone in the world fucking lied to me. And Matt can remember this when he was young, even though his father didn't know how to explain it. But I used to tell Matthew, Kyle, my son Robert Jr., you can do anything you fucking want. Just don't lie to me.
Mhm.
It was that big of a trigger for me. I'd rather you do things that didn't please me or upset me and tell me the truth than being an individual that just flat out lied to me, because now I feel like I can't trust you anymore.
Yeah, you
Well,
don't like being in the dark,
yeah.
right?
mhm.
Ever.
So
Yeah.
I've gotten over that. I now know that there's a lot of things that are playing in a person's mind of why they would say, "How are you doing?" Great. I'm doing good. It's like I get that. I get that there's a
Yeah.
lot of psychology, ego and shit going on. And so I learned early in life that it was so easy for me to introduce people to other people's wisdom and knowledge that was already documented in helping other people free themselves. And so if today someone said, instead of promoting this book, you know it by heart. No, I know it by spirit and I know it by soul. The principles in this book has changed who I am as a person and continues to do so. I don't want to be that message. I want to take the person that was given this message and allow them to give it to you in the way that they do it, because it's done in a story that emotionally affects you. That if you're the right person at the right time with the right ears, it will fucking change you forever. And so you got to be willing to know the things that can change someone's life. And you got to be willing and bold enough to just point people in the right direction of getting that kind of information. The stuff that Dr. Amen said to my son were words of wisdom that he needed to hear at the time he needed to hear it. And when he said the things he said to me and Matt, they were so shocking that both me and Matt did not see that angle. And he immediately,
and he knew that.
When he told us, we both went, huh, what? And then he told a little story of his son and just said, listen, you know, by doing this, we got miraculous results out of it. And there's no way I could have given that message to Matt. What's worse yet is Matt couldn't give that message to Matt.
No, yeah. Well, like there's so many things inside of me internally that had made me feel exactly what you said, Dad. Like it's like the ego thing made me feel that I, in some way, by giving up how to fix problems that I had to someone else, that I was giving up the part of myself that could fix problems, not realizing that never goes away. It's just, it needs tools, right? And when you're trying to put a house together with your bare hands, you're not going to be able to do it, right? You need fucking tools to do it. So to go get those tools, which is wisdom, I need to listen to people that have more of it than I do. And it makes it a lot easier then to do the work once you have the tools. Still have to do the work. No one just shows up and goes, magic wand, works over, you're good to go. But I think having those different insights, and exactly what you said, Dad, putting your ego aside and going, this person needs to be in front of somebody that's documented in something that I don't know yet, or maybe I'm not an expert in. That situation just not only shows people that you're extremely supportive. Instead of trying to fix it, you're trying to support them in fixing it. But then also, man, do you think since all those things have happened, I'm more open to sharing now? Because I'm now completely aware of where it would go if I did, right? Where in situations before, my ego would get involved, and I'm like, I can't bring up how I'm mentally feeling to my dad, right? Because I want him to know that I'm okay. I want him to believe in me. And if I say, hey, shit's not going right up here, that might not exist. Now, that's not the case, and that wasn't the case when I did tell him. But I believe that. My ego believed that, right? And so I think that what a great gift to give somebody. I think that honestly, that is one of the best things that's ever happened to me. But like in general, that you could give somebody is that support and honesty and understanding. And
even
I
just
guess it's
listening.
being seen, right?
Yeah. Well, it's even just listening and acknowledging. I had that experience with my girlfriend recently. She was going through a hard time, and I told her, look, if all you want me to do is just to be there and you talk it out, because I mean, okay, like you, Matt, I kind of like to try to do what I can to help and input.
I think it's a male thing sometimes too,
I
for
think
whatever
so too.
reason.
But
let me fix this for you. I can fix it.
Yeah, because I'm the man.
Let me get that duct tape and that electric fence wire.
And I want you to finish, Craig, please. But I was gonna say too, there's that one video, right, of this husband and wife, and it's, if you look it up, it's kind of funny, but it's like the nail in the forehead thing. I don't know if you guys have seen that video, but it's like, okay, so you have a couple, and this woman has a nail in her forehead, and I'm sure it seems more skewed towards men, of course, but like, she's got a nail in her forehead. The guy shows up and he goes, she's like, I have so much pain. And he's like, let me just get that nail out of your forehead. And she's like, that's not what I want. I want to talk about the nail that's in my forehead first before we take the nail out. And he's like, let me just pull the nail out. All your pain will go away. And that's the whole short film or whatever, is to show how men normally look at women's problems the way we look at our own, which also isn't healthy. But it's that thing of like, okay, Boom, problem solution fixed. There we go. Band-aid it over. We'll keep walking through life with the scars of it, but not fix it. And in the woman's perspective in this story, she's going, we ain't pulling the nail out until we've dealt with the pain first. Then we can pull the nail out. And what a better way of looking at it, because that's really the way that it is, right? It's like we want to just fix it immediately instead of figure out why it hurts in the first place and then fix it. Or not even fix it at all.
That sounds like a Prince A video.
It does.
He does stuff like that. But Craig, please finish, like Matt said, but Susan, she was having this difficult time, and you just said, hey, do you want me just to listen? Or
and that's how I put it. And she just said, I want you to listen. And as hard as it was, because after this recent discussion about how, and I love how Arthur Wainio in the chat here puts it, guys fix things. Yes, because that's what we do. That's what we want to do. But sometimes the fixing things is exactly the way that Matt shared it. Right. You just listen. And oh my God, it was as if I saw two different people.
Yeah.
I saw all of the stress in her face right there in the beginning. And as much as I was biting my tongue, in fact, I think it was almost bleeding at a point, but it shows that even that is a gift unto itself, is support. The fact
you start to realize
somebody just let them go. Let them say what they need to say. Shut up.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then wait. And this is the other thing too, is sometimes you do have to let that moment sit.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, emotions when you're in them are totally different. And if you've been in a fight with a spouse or a friend or anybody, you know this, right? I don't think I have any friends that are close to me that I haven't gotten in a fight with, right? But that's why they're my friends, is that we've gotten in fights and then reconciled, and now we're better friends than we were before because we understand each other. You come back to the table. But if we would have just stayed at the table, then we would have flipped it over and we would have been done, right? And I think that's normally the way that we are. And it's good to step away. Everything that you're saying is right, Craig, is it's like being present and supportive. You do see a different side of people. And guess what? That reflection then happens on yourself, because now I'm a lot more open to sharing with Hannah because I'm understanding what it is to share. And there's so much stuff as a man sometimes too, where you're like, you have to be stoic, that right. I don't know if we're really taught how to not automatically go to fixed mode and how to go first to here's what's wrong with me. Now, how do we fix it?
I think that's
exactly what you said, Dad. That's how I got to the problem in the first place.
I think that's part of the old generation.
Yeah. What I love about what I won't say love. I'll take that word. Say thanks for the interruption. What I still find very fascinating, I don't know if I finished what my pet peeve is, but my pet peeve is people trying to fix and help other people that absolutely know fucking nothing.
So still lying, right? It's still the same thing.
It's when you're repeating and regurgitating shit you heard that's not documented, that's not help. That's not fucking help. It's the opposite. And one of the biggest things that I can see right now is I have a dear old friend. I don't know, Matt, if you met him, David Beckley. You know, if you met him, it wasn't.
He used to do race cars and stuff with him, right?
Yeah.
Drags. Yeah.
And he's coming out here to look for a place at the end of the year in Laurel. He wants to move from California. He's done with California.
Oh, cool.
And what's so bizarre in talking to him is when you actually hear people regurgitate bullshit. He's been in that zone, you know, from the time that I left him. He's still doing the same shit that I did 40 years ago. And he's stuck 40 years ago. And so My wife, Terry, knows how to irritate those friends of mine. And so I'm talking to David, and while I'm talking to him, she says, "Well, I can't wait to see you." And here's his way of saying something nice to Terry, my wife. He goes, "Do you still get charged full price for fingernails?" Well, if people don't know, my wife is missing this part of her finger.
Yeah.
And so the joke has always been around her for a girl that's missing a finger that hides it. Well, you should at least get 10% off when you get your nails done.
Oh gosh.
Okay. And right away, you know, Terry goes, she goes, "I can't believe you remembered that." And he goes, "I don't forget anything." And she knew immediately how to crawl right underneath his skin. And she said, "Yeah, I can't wait for you to come out and you can drive the fastest car that you've ever driven."
Yeah, because they got the Model S Plaid, so.
Because he builds Drake cars.
Mhm.
And he goes, "What car is that?" And she was going, "The new Tesla Plaid Model S." And he went on this bullshit stuff about, yeah, but wait until it costs you $25,000 to replace the battery. And if you're charging it, don't do it in your house because you'll start your house on fire. And he just went through, what happens if you get caught in the cold, and a blizzard and everyone's stuck in traffic. You're going to freeze to death because the car will run out of battery to keep it from warming itself. And all of this stuff is just flat out fucking bullshit. But yet people just copy and paste all this bullshit and share it to everybody.
Yep.
Mhm. How do you know that?
Here's something that I heard. I don't know, but I'm going to share. It's so mind-boggling to me that someone would actually not look at what it is and just click share and share bullshit. So
Yeah.
my industry, this is going to be bold. This is really going to be bold. So far in 37 years in this industry, I rely on 3 people that I know this industry. 3 people. And it's not what other people think. So if it's not by Rich and Jay, I put them as one, the people that became billionaires from Amway. And then there's Don Fala. And then there's Jim Rohn. And those are the only 3 people that I look as people of enough wisdom to know how to build a group of 1 million plus people that are active, that can create millions of dollars a month in income. So if I been in this industry for 37 years and I only know 3 people that I rely on, and then everyone I meet has a bunch of knowledge that they believe that is true, mixed up with a lot of other people's shit that's true. They've never ever made a significant full-time income in network marketing, but yet they're confessing and being a life coach and teaching other people how to fucking make money. And that's not the way they make money.
Yeah, I mean,
That's the
was
world
that
we live in.
there's
That's
that
the
age,
world we
right?
live in.
There's that age-old thing that those who can't do teach, and I think that that's one of those interesting things, right? Because I remember the moment where I had to decide, and I had a conversation with you, Dad, but it's like the moment I decide whether or not I wanted to go to college for film, right?
Right.
And it's like, well, who do you exact question that he says to all you guys, right? It's like, well, find a couple of people that you admire and want to emulate, and then try to do what they did, right? It's like, well, shit, the people that I want to emulate, all three of them didn't go to school, film school. So what the fuck? What am I supposed to do now, right? As a matter of fact, one of them went into film school, Paul Thomas Anderson, and took this screenplay. He was in a screenplay class, and he had to write one page, and he took a screenplay from David Mamet's, one of David Mamet's films. If you don't know who David Mamet is, guys won Oscars and all that type of, he wrote Glengarry Glen Ross. And he turned that page in for that teacher, and that teacher gave that page a C, and he said, great, I'm quitting. And he was like, it's awesome because I got my full tuition back because it was only 2 weeks. But he was like, I went into film school, it was UCLA, and the teacher took a page that won an Oscar, not only did not know that the page had won an Oscar, but also gave the page a C when that's an Oscar-winning screenplay. They don't know what the hell they're talking about.
Yeah.
Right.
And I know, Matt, that we're talking. Thank you for sharing that.
But that, yeah,
the
I mean,
title again of this podcast,
right,
is the greatest gift you could give. I think the greatest gift you could give is the praise and recognition of someone you know that is helping other people. The greatest gift that you could give is put people in front of people that are already documented and helping people get what they want out of life. Stop being the fucking expert.
Yeah.
That comes down to ego, doesn't it? Still,
it's all ego.
Yeah.
And that's
self-serving.
Yeah, the quickest thing that you could do to honestly, in my opinion, and this has helped me the most, ego death, regardless of whatever way you get to it. The fastest you can stop and humble yourself in any situation and be helpful and supportive instead of being an ego leader or whatever it may be. Because get this, you guys, the best leaders, yes, they have egos or else they wouldn't be able to, but they wield those egos in different ways. They definitely do not, because if they were so fucking bad, no one would want to work with them and they would be nowheres.
Right.
So there's an element there that exists, and that's the part that they've gotten rid of. That's the curious part. That's the egoless part, right? Where they're like,
the best people, you know, it's like you see a lot of people that a lot of people admire. They do a lot of self-deprivation in a nice way. They make fun of themselves.
That's so true.
For being so ignorant and sometimes being so full of themselves.
But isn't that sharing themselves as kind of a gift? Is like, okay, here's what I've gone through. Don't do that again.
I don't tell people that one of my proudest moments in life was seeing a van come off a hoist, and so my first thought was to stop it. That was not wise. Not wise.
Yeah, but
yet it got me to where I am.
Right. And that's one of those crazy things in life is that, and Craig, please say what you're going to say after me, but like, that's one of those parts in life where every single time you take a moment to like really try to figure this shit out, it's when those moments happen. And then it's like, oh yeah, I don't know shit. Like that constant reminder that we're all just floating around in space. And the further you zoom out, the less large it is.
I was going to bring that up earlier.
Yeah.
Because of, I mean, basically on what you just said, sometimes it takes you stepping back out of the situation.
Perspective, right?
Perspective. Exactly.
I think every time, Craig.
Yeah.
I think everything. So it's like I was going to say something and then I thought I wouldn't. Now I'm going to. How many of you see? I'm never going to say you. So everything that I say is always indirect. If you notice, right? Okay. So how many of you know people that keep hearing from God that this is the answer and their life is still a fucking mess? Well, you know what the Lord told me? Yeah, but you talk to me all the time, and so he's told you a bunch of things. Why would you tell me that you heard something from the Lord or God? Muhammad. Ego. Ego. Hey, guess what, Matt? I talked to God today, and this was the message he gave me. It's like, okay, so I'm okay with you thinking that, but why would you share it and then you keep being friends with this person for years and the Lord keeps talking to them and they're in the worst place that a human being could possibly be? It's like you would think that you would want to say, I don't know what God or Lord you're listening to, but you need to fucking stop it.
Wow.
Well, what's so interesting about that stuff, and I've thought about this too. It's such a deep topic, but it's like, okay, so if God does, we're gonna say God exists, right? And we'll say the Christian one because that's just easier and that's what we all know. Um, if he's communicating with you personally, right? That's one thing. But what's so interesting is that if you read the Bible, he doesn't in so many other ways, it's more external going, holy shit, this is where I'm supposed to be. But what's so interesting about what you said, Dad, and what I believe completely about that is the people that do go, I'm hearing, I'm having a conversation and stuff. I mean, exactly. Like maybe you're just having a conversation with yourself, right?
Right.
Mhm.
And maybe when someone goes, like I've been to Yellowstone National Park, right? I don't believe in Christianity myself or a Christian God myself, but man, you look at some of the areas and spaces there and you're like, how did this just happen? You know what I mean? Doesn't mean that there isn't one, just means that the one that everyone said might not be the one, right?
Right.
And so like for me, I've always grappled with that. The people, because that's the big like checkmate whenever you talk to someone that's religious with that type
Yeah.
of stuff. They'll go, "Well, I just heard it from God." And you're like, "Great. I can't there's no
Or
way I can
or
debate you against that."
or I heard it from the guy that said that he heard it from God.
Well, that's just
Oh, yeah.
worse.
That's the bigger one. When so people don't go and get upset at us for going on this deal. The gift, the greatest gift you could be is when you really truly don't know that you know that you know that you know. Say that.
Mhm.
Just say that. So that's why I have incredible relationships with Scientologists, Mormons, Jehovah Witnesses, Jews,
Yep.
um, because I come to that platform with non-understanding in a place of awe
Yep.
of, you know, Craig, what is Hanukkah? And why do you celebrate it this way? And you guys can, Craig doesn't lie. I've never caught him lying. How many questions, Craig, have I asked you about Judaism?
Several, many.
I'm
All
curious.
you're curious, and that's how
I
I feel about
Mhm.
you can I mean, I enjoy, okay, if we're gonna go to this direction, um, and I even kind of consider it a gift in this regard. I will go to somebody's church ceremony. If they get married in a church, I'll go to the mass. I may not do everything that they do, but being there, respecting what they believe, and understanding where they come from. If I want, and I love it when there is a conversation with someone about the way either I believe or I'm interested in the way they believe. Um, you know, if I want to share with you the story of Hanukkah, oh my gosh, yes. But if I want to find out more about, okay, didn't the Christian religion say this, or didn't
Right.
one of the disciples, of Jesus, do this? I'm asking out of a true inquiry, which is what you are saying, Robert. And that is honestly That's a gift.
Yeah, it
is.
took me a decade of my early life to figure that out.
Yeah, but Matt, I think that everyone, unfortunately, we all know these young people. I would not say all, but
Yeah.
but there is this young group of people that I don't know when it happens, because it happens different from everybody because everyone's unique. But all of a sudden they wake up and they go, I now know everything. I I
I think
I
when you
now
develop personality, I
yeah,
think, yeah, when you're like a teenager and a young adult, you're developing your personality for the first time outside of anyone else. And of course, influence matters in that situation. It's why it's like, great, hook them up early to any forms of indoctrination, whether it's, okay, you want to do this, you want to do that. This is a great
Oh,
time to
yes.
get them because they're like putty, right? And I think different personalities respond to that differently. I went the ego route with it just
sure.
because that know-it-all thing gave me like a sense of confidence in my new version of who I was at that time.
Absolutely.
Like the know-it-all part. Like, okay, I will research everything and I will figure it out. But the element that I was missing is exactly what you guys shared, which is like the support and kindness and learning of it, learning the wisdom of it, that you
Isn't that
actually don't have to come at it
yeah.
with like frustration that it exists or frustration that, and I'm totally with you. Like being friends with every walks of people makes your life way better.
Oh, yeah.
Like it
Well,
really
it comes from
does.
a place of humbling yourself and upgrading your identity to
Yeah.
to a seeker, a person. Here is the scripture that I always used to. I don't know other people's. I'm not a theologian. I don't know other people's written word as much as I know the Bible, the Christian version.
Mhm.
And one of the things that I love about that is, while a person can believe in certain chapters and disregard other chapters. And so Matt's always seen me do this, right? And so the two scriptures I love the most in the Christian Bible is you'll never know. So you're not supposed to know this verse that says you'll never know the depth, the width, and the breadth of my wisdom and knowledge and love for you. So the person that you're worshiping saying you'll never know. And then the other verse is never lean on your own understanding. Not sometimes. It says never lean on your understanding. And then but I run into a bunch of Christians and other religions that know. I'm going, I don't know.
That's the yes, I mean, that's the indoctrinated part, really, like, exactly
It
what you
is.
said earlier, like, whether someone's having a conversation themselves, and this is one of those things that I'm definitely gonna utilize when I have my own children, what you did in this situation, dad, which is like, well, why don't you go figure it out? Like, read about it, figure it out, explore what that is, because you had explored as you were growing up what that was for you, and I know you still are, right? So it's like a
Geez,
lifelong
I,
thing.
I I've been in cults. I've been in 7 or 8 different religions.
And from your wisdom,
I
thank
am a
God or
seeker.
whatever,
Yeah.
I
I
not in a
I
cult
am a
yet,
seeker.
so
But you had a start. You had a starting point.
No,
Everybody has a starting point. Well, yes, they do in how they believe, how they're raised, but then
it was weird
how you
because
share
the,
that.
the way
How
that
you
I was introduced, the way that I was introduced to organized religion
Mhm.
was from people that weren't my family.
yeah.
Exactly.
So I was very, very cautious going
Okay, but what was your
to
start
every to
that?
every spiritual belief. I'm going like,
Right. But what
very early in life, from the time I can remember, is I just knew there was a bunch of different beliefs.
Mhm.
And so I was always quizzitive of, why do you believe this versus this, or why do you believe this versus this, or and what everyone would always tell me that they would never ever want to admit up front. Up front, everyone knows. And as you quiz them and ask curious questions, not as a debate to catch them in something, just, well, what about this? What about this? You'd always immediately see the uncertainty,
Yes.
which is a lack of study, which is a lack of uh, commitment, which is a lack of discipline. So you run into people that are all different religions, and there's a few of them, and Jewish is one of them, is where, well, what religion are you? Well, I'm not a practicing Jew. I'm not a practicing Mormon. There's religions that take a certain amount of commitment and discipline to do. And so if
And
you don't do
I was
that,
going to say, there's layers to that, and there's a church for each one of those layers.
Yeah. And so
it's like, you want to drink and also be Muslim, there's a church that they do that. So,
Yes.
or not a church, a mosque.
Various levels.
Right.
Okay, let's go back to the 16 personalities in this conversation. There's the 4 main, then they break it down to another 4, then they break it down to another 4, then they even break it down to another 4. So the same applies. How come Christianity is so splintered? How come Judaism is so splintered? How come Catholicism is so splintered? Every religion. Why? Because it's how we look at it, how we were indoctrinated with it, and how we, as of today, interpret it based on our experiences.
Yeah.
Yeah, like maybe you grew up never having ham, and then you had ham at your spouse's place, and you went, "This is good."
Yeah.
I don't really believe that anymore. When we have kids, we're having ham in our house. And then your parents show up and they go, "Why is there ham here?" And you're like, "We're not practicing that part of it."
Don't you think it is funny where, we sometimes go off on doctors and go off on lawyers because it's a practice? I mean, they're bold enough to say, I'm practicing.
Yeah, isn't it's an ever evolving, right?
And you get into the deep religious, the organized religion, and people are like, "Well, I'm not practicing,"
Well, the higher up any type of any of those chains you go, the only way you get higher up that chain is more fervor for that belief. You don't climb that chain without that. And that's why normally the people at the top are the most,
we go right back. We go right back to the example. So the people that hit those higher reigns of any organized religions are people that led by example based on their commitment and their discipline to practicing.
Yeah. No, you want to freak a bunch of people out, right? Predict a couple of things that are predictable. Say that you heard from God that those things were going to happen, and then they do happen, and the people that don't have enough knowledge to look those things up to know that they were predictable will think that the Messiah or God told you those things.
Yes.
Now you can say things about them that then further them in their following of you. And this is what a lot of like religious cult leaders do, right? Because it's, you don't have to know that Halley's Comet's coming by, right? You know when that's going to happen, because guess what? It happens every single time that they've guessed it. So it's, that's happening. So what do you add on to that? It's just going to be the end of days when that happens this time. Yeah. You're like,
or Mayan calendar, or the eclipse.
Oh, yeah.
How many stories have we heard about those?
Right. 2024 has 366 days.
Does it?
Oh, yeah.
Well,
wait a minute, Robert. We got to follow you. I'm sorry. We got an extra day out of this. How did we get an extra day out of these years?
Well,
we rotated
Robert told me that this morning. Hey, now we don't want to get people too upset.
No.
It's funny because but that's really, I think, being able to be self-depreciating about it is why people love us talking about it, because we're not exactly what you said, Dad. I'm not sitting here going, "Hey, guess what? This stuff is this way, and then this stuff is the truth, and it's that way."
Yeah.
Like, I don't fucking know what. All I'm saying is that there's certain things that I played around with and weren't for me personally. Doesn't mean that they're not for somebody else personally, right? Like, I get it. I
You
understand
guys
now
do
better, at
honestly,
least.
you guys do honestly know where I get all my wisdom, don't you?
From me? No, I'm just kidding. I'm just being bullshitting. It's the other way around.
Ah, yes, good old Dino.
Dino.
Hey,
That's so
if you're
funny.
gonna get it from somebody, you might as well get it from a good source.
Right. No, I always feel like that's the thing, right? Is like trying to dissect your own thoughts and go, is this Dino or is this me? Like, I don't
Yeah.
is this
Yeah,
is
for
this
you,
something?
for some of the thoughts that some of us can go, are you fucking kidding me? It's like I think that maybe the best gift that you could give to you is for you to say that stuff to yourself as often as possible.
What's funny is you ever get like a really brilliant idea and like in your mind, in your heart, you're going, this is gonna make me millions. This is the smartest idea I think I've ever had.
Oh
And then
my
you go describe it to another human being and they're like, yeah, that's this thing and it's existed forever. And you've even used it. And you're like, and that just goes to show, like whisper down the lane, like you said, Dad.
yes.
It just goes to show that your
Yes.
memory is foggy. And what's so interesting is if those people that you talk to that hear from God had a personal journal where they wrote down every single time they heard from him and then they read through it, they'd be like, maybe I need to be committed or on something. I don't know.
Yeah. Or
You know what I mean? These are all over the place because
just
it's
be
not
willing to say that, I came up with a pretty good thought today that I'm convicted about that I'm going to jump into. And I'm just feeling really, really good about that source because
yeah.
there's not any of us that I'm aware of. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm not aware of a human being that didn't have a good thought that felt like if they went through with that thought, that they would be in a better place. And for me, I always talked about, you know, two two uh two twins that were dropped off when they were 18 months old in a trailer park and abandoned. So for just a while we thought, well, maybe kids that aren't around their parents, maybe we're the only ones that have these really ugly thoughts. And then you finally feel bold enough to reach out and start sharing with other people, and it's like, oh my god, you have thoughts like when you're talking to somebody and you're smiling and you even like them and you love them and they're telling you a story and you're like, oh my god, I could just slap them so hard right now. You know what I mean? And you're going, but I would never do that, and I love them. I even love what they're saying. Where'd that thought come from? I
Yeah. And I mean, that's,
I I
that's
don't
the,
I don't I don't know where that thought comes from, and it's like,
no, it is one of those things too, where like I think the more we communicate, and it's both things, and I've said this to friends of mine too, right? Where they've made a bad mistake or made it, and not to put myself saying I know the wisdom. This is just something that I learned myself. So I get to share it. But it's like in those situations, you have a bad thought and you go, I am an awful person for even having this thought or thinking these things. The fact that you have the ability to know that those things are bad and beat yourself up about it, in turn, means that you are fully not that person
yeah,
Mhm.
that lives in those thoughts. And that's one of those interesting conundrums, right? If you're aware of something that's bad and you don't do it, but you still had the bad thought, that makes you a good person because
and and
your personal
You're in
self didn't
control.
slap that
yeah,
person.
Yeah.
and
But that
again,
doesn't mean that it isn't,
right, and
go ahead,
again,
Dad.
what we were talking about, the greatest gift you could give to somebody is for them to feel around you like they could tell you
Right.
that you're not going to call 911 and get them committed, or you're not going to ruin the relationships they have with other people, because you got to really understand that you're coming off, in my opinion, a better place of not knowing and learning instead of knowing and being wrong. And so to think that Matt and I have built such a close relationship, that the guy that I'm so proud of today, that I look as a gift that was given to me, is Matt. And when I think that this guy at one time came to me and said, Dad, I'm just really having some thoughts that I don't like. And I'm like, well, here's Mr. Fix It. I can fix anything. And Matt said, "No, I'm a stone cold psychopath."
Yeah, that's what I thought.
And I'm going, "What?" And he goes, "Dad, the stories I want to write, the movies that I want to do, they're just so dark. And I just know I'm Darth Vader's son, not yours." No, he never said that.
That'd be funny though if I did.
Yeah, and I could go, "Well, how do you know that?" And he said, "Well, he said I'm your father." No, I'm kidding. I'm your father. Oh, Craig, that was good.
No, what's so funny is
yes.
Yeah, what's so funny is the reason that I feel confident in sharing that stuff with my dad is because he's been open with me about that type of stuff too. And I think that there's like, it takes, when you're growing up, it takes a certain part of like your mental health to be okay for you. And like I said, I didn't realize at that moment in time that the fact that I had those thoughts meant that I wanted to tell stories like the ones that I like, it, instead of like, oh, there's something wrong with me, I'm just holding back some evil in me or something like that, when the reality is I just like fun messed up shit sometimes. Like my three favorite filmmakers are David Fincher, Quentin Tarantino, and Paul Thomas Anderson. So I mean,
Matt,
Kubrick would fit in
And
there
you
as
got
well.
and I'm sure as a writer, you throw Stephen King in there because I mean, look at
Oh,
what.
half this bookshelf is Stephen
Okay,
King.
there we are. Yeah,
Yeah.
because
No, exactly.
I mean, I was going to say, so then if Robert's not your dad, Matt, then is Stephen King based on what you just shared?
But like, it's interesting because you listen
Yeah.
to these people, right? You listen to
Yeah.
these people talk, and they go, Stephen King has said, he's like, I wake up every single day and I get to think some of the most messed up shit, and you people made me a millionaire for doing it.
Yeah.
And David Fincher has this great quote where he said, I think, because his films, some of the ones that he's done are, like Seven and stuff like that, Gone Girl
Oh,
and
that
stuff,
was one.
right?
Ooh.
So, Girl with a Dragon Tattoo and stuff. But
Mhm.
he had this saying where he said, listen, I am a firm believer that there's a little bit of fucked up pervertness in every single human being. And he's like, you know how I know that for a fact? Me and my friends make films for them and they show up every single time they watch them. They made me a millionaire. Exactly what Stephen King said. So it's like interesting how every time a new Tarantino movie comes out, I'm in theaters to go see it, knowing that it may or may not be a bloodbath full of all kinds of messed up stuff. But I'm sitting there entertained by it, right? Because
Well,
I'm the audience member.
again, if
So
you again psychologically are thoughtful, if we put this in one place, we're talking again, the greatest gift that you can give is I believe those people and those authors doing those kind of movies really, really, really has saved lots of people,
Yes.
because
but
that's
yeah,
the first time that they went, "I'm not alone.
right. There's whole communities.
Uh-huh.
We've
I'm
been me
not
and
I'm
yeah.
not alone. There's some other people that are having these stupid
No,
thoughts."
I've hung out with people and have been part of like horror groups. Me and Hannah have gone to like expos, oddity expos, where they have like the shrunken pig heads and stuff like that, that type of stuff, right? And you look at that stuff and some people are like so creeped out by it. But it's not that I want to own it in my house, but I'm not disturbed by it. So
Right.
like there's this certain part of me with my upbringing, with the way that my family is, nobody else consumes this shit but me in my
Right.
family.
Yeah.
So when I was growing up, my dad's someone that motivates people, inspires people, stuff like that. And it's not that I don't have those elements of him and me, but I'm going, where the hell did these other elements come from? And why am I so weird in comparison to everybody else that I know?
Right.
And it just took time and like wisdom and growth to realize that I benefit from being in this area with those skills, right? Like, I can't imagine how great it would be to sit in an audience of people and see them scared of something that I made. Like, that would make me happy because
Mhm.
then I'm eliciting what they want, right? Or what they showed up for. I'm entertaining them. So
Yeah.
I love Alfred Hitchcock and those types of people that are like playing around with those elements. I just thought I was fucking crazy for wanting to do that.
Isn't that crazy?
Because you go psychologically, why would I want to elicit a negative feeling in somebody
Right.
with what I want to create? But the
Mhm.
reality is that that I saw it as a negative because I thought of it as non-entertainment, right? Like it needed to matter in some other way as well. Not that it can't, because I love Silence of the Lambs for other reasons, but it's
Well, the whole
it's the way it
title
is.
of
So
entertainment, is again an escape from reality.
Yes.
It's like if you can get people in a state of feeling, again, who are the people that were, that God passed down, whatever you believe, that cast down to cast criticism and judgment on other people for getting them to expand their feelings and their
right.
emotions and their thoughts in other ways. So
Yeah.
it's always the critics that if it doesn't fit in their box, and if people really hone them down, again, my pet peeve is you would realize that the people that are the biggest critics, the biggest judgmental people on the planet, are the people that don't even fit in their own box. You're really, really, really fucked
Mhm.
up if you expect the world to fit in your box with your beliefs. But if we did a private investigation of you and who you are, you don't fit in that box. That is like
It's
a
like they want to.
very high level of narcissism. That
Yeah.
I got this figured out. I don't like you because you don't fit in my box. And I just hope that people don't figure out who I really am because I'm doing things that don't fit in this box.
What was that woman recently in the news who is the, a mother's on something in Florida, I think, where I forget what group it was, but it was a very
She's like the national president
yes,
of a group of people on not abusing children.
right, and what does she do and get caught with and get called out for?
Abusing her children.
Well, not just that, but there was another one who had a threesome.
Yeah, but this lady also, the threesome lady,
Oh,
also
okay.
got her kids taken away. She had them locked
Yeah.
up with chains. She was homeschooling them, and she's like a
Well,
head.
it reminds there's a lot of, whether it's huge political movements, religious movements, that
Yeah.
there's a lot of commonality between, hey, I'm shouting from the rooftops that this is bad, and then I'm the one that's doing it. That's like a common human problem at that narcissistic
It
level.
is.
So it's
Yes.
it's it's like shadowing the actual activities that they're doing. But I I think when you look at it and stuff, and that is a gift that I kind of gave myself that took me a while, right? Like oh, all this stuff's okay, like it's okay, cuz I was the type of person that I'm like, "Hey, here's the Bible." I read it and I'm like, that book of Revelations part would make a great fucking movie. Oh my god, wouldn't that be good?
And I think a lot of people have attempted that.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah. And you look at it and you go, "Oh man, that there's a lot of bad shit happening here, but that would be entertaining to see as long
Right.
as you were detached from it, right?" So I I know we've already been talking for an hour and 43 minutes. I think that we should probably throw it into one final subject to like wrap it up.
I agree.
Um
I agree.
and I wanted to ask you guys first, and I'll leave myself for last, or maybe I won't say anything at all. But as far as as far as the gifts that you've been given, right, in your life, and we're not going to talk about present, we're not going to talk about materialistic
Right.
objects. what has been the biggest gift that someone has given you that's made the largest impact on you? I know that's a huge question, but I think it's a good one to end it on.
Ooh.
Craig, you want to go? Mine came to me immediately.
I'm going to go with people. All right. I had this written down and now I'm going to bring it up. Watching people's faces when they come up to you and compliment you for something that you did or said to them that you really didn't even think was going to make much of a difference.
That's a good one.
And it was so simple. It's just like, you just throw it out there and it's like, oh my God. Oh my, just watching their face and how it just connected. And I know, Robert, you've seen this when you do some of the live events, but when you see it and you experience it yourself, when somebody just comes up to you and gives you the biggest bear hug and says, thank you. Or even if it's okay, if maybe it's not a physical thing, maybe if it's here
Right.
on Zoom and you can feel what they're sharing with you, that it was something that even if it as minimal, just as minimal as a hi, how are you? I'm here for you. And all of a sudden you can see like, thank you.
Yeah. I agree. Craig. It's
that,
watching someone's light come on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just watching them get the aha moments. And that would be my greatest gift. My greatest gift for me is the mentors that turn my lights on. The mentors that allowed me, in a way, like I shared with Matt, I can honestly say that I got that from them. The one thing that you guys will always see from a real, true mentor is not instructions. This is where people's got this life coach shit all fucked up. Okay? Because it's, again, people believing they know the knowledge to fix somebody. A real, true mentor is a person that says a few words or a statement to get that person to second guess what they know. And then they find the information and now they know. When you can help another human being change their perspective, change their paradigm, and become a different person. And that's what my mentors did for me. And so that's why I keep talking about this book. Do I believe that this is the very best book that's ever been created? Yes, for me. For me. Okay. So me and Matt have said this before, and I think I've shared this with Craig. When I had the aha moment that the best book or best movie or best song for every single person on the planet, or even maybe the best company, is the one that you got introduced to right after you made the fucking decision that I'm not going to live like this anymore. Because that's when you humbled yourself. That's when you gave yourself the greatest gift, which is I no longer can rely on my knowledge and my wisdom to get me to the next level. I don't fucking know it. And when you're open-minded to saying, I don't know, and I don't even know where to look, is usually when you're asking whatever it is to please give me an answer. And then it gets dropped in your lap. So I'll finish this up with this one thing. The people that are struggling in life, I always tell them, go back to something that you knew you should have completed that you didn't. Because if you really ask yourself, what did someone tell me? Again, the mentor going, I'm trying and it's just not working, and that's why you fail. What the fuck are you talking about? Well, it's because you're trying, you're not doing. Stop trying and do. It's things like that that mentors do, that have wisdom to know that they just want to push you a little bit for you to discover the truth for yourself. That's how fucking unique you are. So me giving you my perspective when I'm not you and I don't have your DNA and I've never walked in your shoes. I need to give you the things to allow you to discover your own journey. And the true mentors that you see in the world and on movies and in books, that's what a mentor is. A mentor is someone that can just steer you and go, hey, this is a little thing that happens. And when the student's not ready, the teacher doesn't appear. And so the greatest gifts that people have given me is believing enough in me to share something with me that I felt like I was called to do. And because I discovered that for myself, that uniquely made me who I am in my journey. And now I get to pass that on to other people that run into my path.
I mean, how do you top that? I don't even have
that's why there was that
afterwards.
That's why there was that dead air right there. I mean, it's like boom.
I honestly love that, Dad. I think that, obviously I'm clipping that part out after we get done with this.
I was just going to say that that's a perfect
for people to hear, because that is the truth. And I've experienced that in the mentorings that I've had with you as well, Dad, that I think that that's one of those huge valuable parts of who you are. And as a mentor, like pointing people in the right direction to find other people that are like that, you've been that way. So like I've learned that from you, and that has been a huge gift in my own life, right? Like being able to not have to learn how to carry the weight of always being that, I guess, like as I get older, but being like, I can see myself as a parent, and I already know what a great parent I'll be because of these things that I've learned. Awesome. And that is such a huge gift. So thank you guys so much. Thank you for this. Thanks, Dad. Thanks, Craig. Thank you, everybody that's been watching. I know we had some questions. I know people asked questions and we didn't answer them. We were kind of in the zone this time, but we'll try to do that next time.
We'll answer those in Inner Circle.
Sounds good. Yeah, no, I'm sure it was just input on stuff, but we appreciate you guys being on here.
Thank you.
Inner Circle tomorrow. I'll let Craig close it out. Craig, on to you.
Happy Hanukkah and Merry Christmas.
Yes.
Happy Kwanzaa, happy Festivus. I think that
I'm going to do that marketing blanket statement. I'm going to say happy holidays.
Yes. And happy New Year too. Of course.
Yeah. I'll see you before then.
Right?
Right.
What?
We'll have another podcast before New Year's.
27th. Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll be here.
Okay.
We'll be here. Next and we'll let everyone know. Birthday. Oh
man.
And Ask Me Anything on the 30th.
Yeah.
There we go. Happy birthday. Happy birthday.
And happy birthday.
For the Capricorns.
Yes.
That's right. Well, love and appreciate you guys. Thank you so much.
Thanks for all those that watched live or recorded. I love and appreciate you. We wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you.
Absolutely. And of course, you can follow Robert Hollis at roberthollis.com. Also on YouTube at roberthollis.com/YouTube. Instagram at instagram.com/official Robert Hollis. And on TikTok at tiktok.com/@real Robert Hollis. Don't forget to like and share this video on YouTube and share it with others. It will help us grow our community and reach those with ears to hear. Our schedule, Robert's schedule, is Sunday through Friday at 12 p.m. Pacific with his going lives every day. Then on Saturday, it's Ask Me Anything, where you get to ask a question directly to Robert. And that's Saturdays at 12 p.m. Pacific. Of course, there's the How Do You Know That podcast every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Pacific. And if you are part of the inner circle, that's tomorrow, Thursdays at 3 p.m. Pacific. But you got to join the inner circle. And that's going to roberthollis.com/join or clicking the join button down below right next to where it says subscribed. Thank you, and shout out to our executive producer, Matt Hollis. Matt, you're an incredible visionary. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to work with you. And of course, Robert, what a blessing. You are incredible. You are amazing. And
So are you guys, man.
There's always so much fun. So thank you
Yeah.
guys
It
so
is.
much.
and thank you for joining us and taking time out of your busy schedule to be part of our How Do You Know That podcast. Please be good to yourselves, be cash, and bye-bye, and have a great day.
See you
Love
guys.
you guys. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays.
Merry Christmas.